Hi, I'm Ernie Marjoram, and this is my show, Big Fish at Tag Gallery. This show was inspired by coincidence. In my neighborhood, there's a utility box that was painted with some koi fish on it. And as I passed by it, it attracted my eye, and I thought that might be a great subject for this new show. Koi fish are fascinating, graceful creatures. There's a sense of movement. There's an incredible sense of color, and in their natural habitat in water, it brings up the challenges of transparency and reflections on the water surface. So it was kind of an interesting challenge, something I'd never tried before, and I enjoyed it. The process that I go through is traditional. I work on canvas with oil paints. I normally start with a textured ground of dark brown color on the canvas, which I'll do a process called rag rolling in this case, where I take a blank rag and just roll it in the dark brown, and it creates a really interesting texture. Then I do a lay-in, where I draw the basic shapes, work out the composition in approximate colors, and then move into a block-out phase where I'll fill in those shapes with an approximation of the right value and color, and then model them, go in and try to make the forms read. And as you can imagine, koi fish have some really interesting shapes and forms. And then the final step is more and more detail, right down to reflections in the water and the things that make the fish look like koi, their eyes and the kind of whiskers that they have. And that ends up being hopefully the finished product, and that's the process. I hope that what these do is create a visual sense of interest. I think the primary purpose of art is to make something interesting to look at. And I had a couple of people come up and say, wow, these are really joyful paintings. And I agree with that. The idea was just to try to kind of catch the viewer's attention with some visually interesting images. A lot of things create interest. For me, one of the biggest ones is variety. Big shapes and little shapes, dark shapes and light shapes, and variety and contrast. It's one of those things that it's kind of individual for every person, but there are some principles. Even the composition and drawing the eye through the image with little focal points here and there, and just creating something fascinating to look at. I would tell people to be creative themselves. I do teach art and believe that it's something that everybody can learn and get better at. And I try to encourage the people who even come to my shows to go out and buy some art materials and experiment, because it's a very rewarding and fulfilling process. And it isn't necessarily about the finished images. For me, process is really important, and it's very satisfying to imagine something and then create it and have it come out as you imagined it.